Hello everybody. Today we are going to review the movie Bright. Now I have reviewed this movie in the past, but I feel like it's one of those ones that I just didn't really do the review justice, so I wanted to give the movie a second watch and just go back and review it. So that's what we are going to do today. I'm not sure whether this will be a June, July, or August, because it has monsters in it, but they are heroes too. So it's kind of I think I will put it in August, so you guys will see this in August. I guess I'm just deciding that at the beginning of this video before I even start really talking about anything else. But anyhow, so this movie is about. It takes place in Los Angeles, right? So yeah, I thought they were, for some reason I was thinking they were New York cops, but it's LA. So they're LAPD officers. And this movie stars Will Smith and Joel Edgerton, I do believe is how you pronounce his name. And I'm just going to pull up the list of the actors here as to who everybody else was, because those were the two main stars of the movies, and they were partners in they were partners. Not They didn't want to be necessarily well, I shouldn't say that, because Will Smith's character, Daryl Ward, and his name was Nick Jacoby, and he was an orc. So in this movie there are several different races. Some are magical, some are obviously super strong, like the orcs. I believe they were orcs anyway. Yeah, okay. I had that right. Orcs. I was thinking ogres because he makes a reference to Shrek and Fiona in the movie too, calling one of them to tell them to go back to where they were before. But anyhow. So yeah, obviously Jacoby and Ward are the least. It's kind of weird because I guess he kind of got into the Force, and obviously because he's a different race of creature, nobody wants him in there with him. And I believe Ike Barinholtz was one of the main characters, kind of the main characters in this movie. And he was one of the ones that said that he really wanted Jacoby out of the Force due to the fact that just because Ward had been shot in the past and now he was coming back and still had to keep the same partner, that Jacoby was just going to end up getting somebody killed, and everybody thinks that he ended up letting the perp that shot him go. But then Jacoby finally tells Ward the story when they go to this house where they find out that a Bright might have been. And that's where they run into this girl. What was her name? Nika? No, Tika. Not Nika. Tika. Sorry. And so that's when stuff really starts to go sideways, because he's in the house trying to decide whether he's going to kill Jacoby or not. And then obviously he goes out and faces Jacoby, and that's when Jacoby tells him the truth about what happened that day, losing the perp in the crowd, and then ended up running into this other kid, and then realizing that if he kept that kid there the entire time, when the cops got there, they would just kill him anyway, regardless of whether he was the actual right perp or not. So he lets that kid go. He tells that to Ward, and Ward goes, "Why didn't you just tell me the truth from the beginning?" And then all these gangsters show up because they hear about the wand, and they hear the shooting of the cops, or hear word of the cops shooting one another, obviously, because Ward takes out the 4 people that are planning on killing the 2 of them for the wand, because they just want the power of the wand, right? They don't care about anything else. So he takes the 4 of them out, and then there's these feds after them, and one of the feds was an elf as well. So was Tika, and the other woman who was after them Why is her name not here? That's weird. You would think she'd be like right at the top cast people. Oh, no, she was. Noomi Rapace played Lila, or Layla, maybe. Anyhow, so yeah, the one federal agent, uh, his name, his real name is Edgar Ramirez, but he played Candemir? Candemir, that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I hope I'm doing that name justice. Oh my god. So he was trying to chase, obviously, Ward and Jacoby down the entire time, as well as was Layla and her crew. And oh my god, they were quite the violent bunch. They just didn't really care about anybody's well-being but their own, and didn't care who was in the crossfire, so on and so forth, because there's a lot of scenes where they just like, there's one scene where they're having this big gunfight between the gangsters and the two of them, and then all of a sudden Layla and her crew show up and just slaughter the whole bunch of them. So obviously they are elves as well, but they're a little bit more powerful because she obviously really has her mission of getting her wand back from Tika, and Tika has slowly begun to become a Bright herself. So I guess she was in the midst of training, or just had begun her training to become a Bright. And there was this scene early on in the movie where there's this guy standing out on the road with a sword, and then he talks to Jacoby in the car about how the person with him is powerful, obviously being Ward. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, when they decide that they have to go back to save Tika because I don't know what it was that was killing her. Maybe because the wand was too powerful for her at the time because she had just begun her training to become a Bright. Or maybe the Dark Lord was coming out of her. I'm not really sure why she was dying. But she does end up actually saving Jacoby at one point when the orcs captured them. And even after the father, who is the leader of the orcs, I guess, finds out that it was Jacoby that saved his son from being murdered, he still kills him anyway, and he was going to kill Ward, and then Tika is able to save Jacoby from certain death because he just falls down. It looks like this endless pit that they've opened, the orcs have opened. So yeah, it was I'm actually glad I did come back to watch this again because I think I can properly do this review justice now. So where was I? So yeah, saves Ward, and then they decide to go back to the house where they met her at because that's the only way she can be healed. Ward doesn't want to do it. He wants to just go to the hospital, hand in everything to the feds, and just be done with it. Obviously, they do end up going back to the house, and they do end up finally defeating, I guess, in a way, Layla and her crew. And at the end of the movie, when they're being warded with medals, it shows Tika walk through the crowd. So at least Ward had knows that she was safe, and Ward was actually able to pick up the wand. So he is one of the very lucky humans that I guess has bright powers, or is a Bright, because I guess it's like one in so many humans can actually obtain the power to hold the wand itself. All the rest of them if you just explode into like a cloud of dust if you don't have the power. So you're really gambling with life and death as a human being if you want to have enough power, or yeah, if you want to be all powerful, you're really gambling with life and death just by touching the wand, because you don't know if you have the bright power inside of you, I guess. So, but yeah, going back and watching this movie, I can't even remember what I rated it. Oh god, that must have been 3 years ago when I reviewed it the first time. I'll have to go back and just watch my old review just to see. But yeah, I think this one is going to be a much better one, because I think the first one only lasted about 5 minutes. But yeah, I have to say I really did enjoy this movie a lot more the second time watching it. just because there was so much that you missed. And the scene at the beginning where he has to kill the fairy was funny because he's trying to sell his house and he's got these gangsters living beside him, and he says fairy lives don't matter today, and then ends up killing it with the broom. And he goes, looks at the guys next door to him and goes, "Yeah, just keep all your gangster shit. I'm just trying to sell my house. Don't worry about it." So yeah, obviously he doesn't live in a very top tier neighborhood. Let's just say that much. I don't think I actually did give it a rating yet. So I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. It was just that enjoyable for me. I didn't really have any real criticisms of it. I don't think all the acting was good. I liked all the actors and actresses in this movie, so I can't really say anything bad about it. Oh, and the soundtrack. I mean, it was mostly rap, but I guess it kind of worked for this movie in a way. And it turns out that orcs really are into heavy metal, which I found kind of funny because they seemed like more of the gangster type. So it was kind of weird having them into that type of music. But or maybe that was just Jacoby himself. I'm not really sure. But anyhow, yeah, I guess the main thing that everybody was after was this wand in this movie, and obviously it worked out better for some people than others. So, but yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this movie. So as always, like, share, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this film if you've seen it. I'm sure most people have seen it because I remember how much this was blowing up way back in 2017 when this movie came out. So I imagine if it stayed on Netflix this long, everybody's had a chance to see it. Because it just seems like one of those ones that just never remove. So that's good, because then you can always go back and rewatch it and enjoy it every so often, because it is a good movie to go back and do that for, because there was a lot to this movie. So anyhow, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye for now.